Yes, we are live.
Live.
Hi, everybody. This is Sudha Jamthe, and this is the IoT show. We have an awesome show set up ready for you. Hello, everybody on Periscope. We're just getting started with the IoT show. So we have the topic today is iBeacon Living Lab. It's not just iBeacons. You've heard a lot about iBeacons and beacons, but this is the iBeacon Living Lab, and we have Jonathan Carter right here.
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So Jonathan is an amazing person. He runs the IoT meetup in Amsterdam. And thank you for joining us from Amsterdam. It's 7 o'clock for you.
Yes,
so I appreciate that.
7 o'clock, yeah. Not too late, don't worry. Oops, there's a cat.
So Jonathan runs the IoT meetup in Amsterdam, but he's also the visionary behind this whole concept of a living iBeacon living lab. Basically, I'll let him tell you a little bit more about it, but what got me excited is I have not covered connected cities in the show so far. And I was looking for the right opportunity to talk about it and I want to do the right showcase. But this takes it to a whole new dimension. It's a test and learn environment. It's a living IoT lab across a whole city. So with that, let me pass it to Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello. Well, thank you. Can I say thank you for having me on your show?
You're welcome.
And, letting me talk about the iBeacon and Internet of Things living laboratory that we're creating here in Amsterdam, which
Sure.
I'm very excited about, as you can imagine.
Yep.
Because it's been consuming most of my time, I think, for the last 6 months, or maybe a little bit more.
So
it's,
is it just 6 months since you got started? Tell us a little bit. Tell us about what this lab is first.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I run the Internet of Things meetup group here in Amsterdam, and we have a lot of people that have started off as enthusiasts, and now they turn into professional IoT makers. A lot of them have a software background. Often, a lot of them have an electrical engineering background from the old days. But there is a common barrier, and that barrier is the fact that unlike software development and app development, when you've got something ready to show, it's very, very difficult to actually show it to somebody or somebody important in an urban environment. Because with an app, it's so easy. You can put it in the App Store. Everybody can download it and see it. With software, it's also the same. But with Internet of Things, if you really want to show some sort of civic or city deployment, you've really got to put it out there in the streets. And there comes the huge barrier. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to have areas of the city of Amsterdam which already have Internet of Things devices installed, all connected up into cloud services, and have it managed in such a way that it's open for all. So small businesses, startups, individuals, if they have some product or some idea and they want to actually show it in the real world, or even test it to see if it works in the real world, we have a kind of a living laboratory. And the living part of it means that on a frequent basis, so at least monthly, we go and swap out pieces of kit which are installed all over the city, and we try and help people overcome that barrier. That's what it is in a nutshell.
So the goal here is finally to get all Amsterdam connected, or to experiment and let all of Amsterdam figure out what Internet of Things is needed for the city.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is to do with stimulating ideas to come to fruition. I don't only want to talk about commercial ideas, because actually, if you think about a smart city, there's a lot of criticism in smart city that people don't want to live in a city that runs like clockwork. People want to live in a city that is actually for human beings. And so our specific focus here is to actually enable people to try out really civic solutions. So not just the commercial solutions, but also the things which don't have necessarily an immediate business case, but they might make the city more livable. It's very, I think we talked a day ago about hackathons, and nowadays hackathons, for instance, are dominated by the need for a business case, but actually mostly the most innovative things come out when there's no business case. And so if you have a hackathon with open data or Internet of Things devices, and you ask people for a business case, they'll make a classic solution with efficient parking or paying for services. Whereas if you let people have the freedom to experiment, they will actually come up with guidance for the elderly or the blind, things which have no business case, but they're equally important in the city. So we're trying to provide a level playing field for all people from one-man bands up to medium businesses to trial out real civic solutions that will change people's lives.
So that's good. It's very good. I mean, I think hackathons do bring crazy ideas out too, but it's true. Based on who's organizing the hackathon, it might get focused purely on payments or something else.
Exactly.
So I appreciate the goal, but it's a huge undertaking to do that for a whole city, right? I mean, tell me a little bit about the infrastructure, what you have in there, and you're calling it the iBeacon Living Lab. So yes, it tells me, or it signals me, that there are beacons everywhere and people get to connect. But it's more than that, right?
It is more than that. It is, you know, my company Glimworm, we're also app developers, and we've worked with open data, and we've worked with software and now hardware for many years. And if I look at app development, developers almost always connect to the cloud, whether they're connecting to Google Maps to try and get map services, or they're just connecting to a back office solution. And we actually are in the iBeacon business for about a year now. So we actually create and sell iBeacons. And what we find amongst our colleagues here, who are mainly app developers, is that actually when they make an app for iBeacons, it's the first time that they will have connected to a device. So not to the cloud, but their phone to a device. And from that actually comes a whole new world of possibilities. Suddenly, all these app developers become IoT app developers because they understand it. They know how to connect Bluetooth, and Bluetooth is very simple to make the hop to other protocols. They understand how all this networking works. And so actually what we found is that iBeacon is a very, very useful step into the world of IoT. As you mentioned, I've organized the IoT meetup in Amsterdam for many years. And so my passion is IoT. But I love it that I see people getting into this world through what seems to be a very simple step in, if you like, of the iBeacon. So it's a very, very useful tool for developers to get in touch with IoT. And equally, it's very sexy. So actually, when the city has done initiatives like this before, and they've talked about connected devices, smart cities, it appeals to a little bit boring segment. As soon as they put iBeacon in front of it, they had apparently, I've been told by the city officials, they had more telephone calls because they put the word iBeacon in front of it than on any other initiative. So, you know, that's good as well.
So hold on for 1 second. I mean, I like where you're going with the whole detail, but you said you make iBeacons, right?
Yes.
So tell us, the word beacon and iBeacon has been thrown around interchangeably. So I, like everybody else, you're talking about, I don't come from the hardware side. And so for me, I wrote this book about IoT, and wanted to demystify the space, and there is more and more, mystery to the space that I'm learning by the day. But for me, I wanted to go build a real IoT. And so the experience, you said, Amazon hosts a IoT hackathon once a month, and they give a kit of some kind of system on a chip. And amazing ideas, good and bad, right? And social good and commercial ideas or funky ideas, all of them come. But their goal is to make us connect to AWS. And so
Yes.
we did that. I mean, I went through that whole exercise with them, and we built this Maraca, which is this baby toy, using
Yeah.
IoT kit. But once I got that, that's what happened, right? So now I could do a lot more things. Then I said, okay, now what else can I do? And then the world of possibilities opens up. So tell me a little bit about your beacons. When you say iBeacon, are you talking about a beacon, general beacon? The iBeacon usually is referred to, the Apple's iBeacon standard, which is on top of the beacon BLE standard, right? So tell us a little bit about your beacon first, and then we'll go into the deployment.
Okay. Well, the essentially, for people that don't know it, any Bluetooth device, Bluetooth low energy device, can be an iBeacon. All that Apple did, actually, very cleverly, was they defined a standard protocol. So if you transmit with this standard string of characters, then automatically iPhones will pick you up. The world followed. So Android, although they've made some other small adaptations to it with Eddystone, essentially they all still respond to this same protocol. So the great thing about an iBeacon as opposed to a beacon is the fact that if you adhere to this protocol, automatically underneath the operating system of iPhones, they're built to look for them. And so that you can actually search for beacons in background. You can connect with beacons subliminally in the while the app is apparently off, but it will actually trigger the app. So the iBeacon itself is, in a way, just a standard protocol.
So when you said iBeacon, you were referring to a beacon device that was talking to Apple's iBeacon.
That's right. Yeah, you can make an iBeacon out of a Raspberry Pi, out of an Arduino, anything which has anything which can transmit Bluetooth, and that you can change that string of characters. You can turn it into an iBeacon. We design and manufacture one iBeacon, the Glimworm beacon. But I would like to come back to your experience at the hackathon. Actually, you were talking about with the Maraca. What you find, or what we found with our members of the IoT group, is that the big difference with making a device is actually the battery power. So if I just explain to you, if you get given an IoT kit, normally it comes with an Arduino or Arduino based device, and you make something very, very nice. It's connected with a USB cable to your laptop, and you think, hey, that's great, I've made this Maraca, or I've made this nice little baby device. The moment you want to actually take that thing with you somewhere, you need to have a battery on it. And there's huge. Sorry?
So we have commercial beacons like the Tile. I have a Pebble beam on my on my screen, or Gimbal, giving away a whole bunch of them. So with them, I put one on my dog's collar, so I could track. But they all run out of power pretty soon.
They all run out of power, and they're all very, very simple devices. So a simple beacon which is transmitting the same signal again and again and again. It maybe can last a year and a half on a battery if you're lucky. But if you want to actually do more with IoT devices, and that's something which we, this Living Lab is also an IoT Living Lab, Internet of Things. So really the devices should be connected. So what we've actually deployed is not only beacons which are just sending out the standard iBeacon signal, we've also created a series of beacons which are communicating back into the cloud. So they're actually connected IoT beacons using a brand new low energy protocol called LoRa. And so with the help of KPN, people probably don't know who KPN is, but in Holland, I don't know what it was in the United States, but basically there used to be a national telecom provider in, maybe it was AT&T in America, but in Holland it used to be KPN. Of course, they had some rough times at the end of in the 90s because all the new competitors were coming in. But Now they're really focusing on Internet of Things. So they've decided to deploy this low power, long range network called LoRa, which for me is going to be it's going to be a catalyst which will really catapult Internet of Things into a new level of deployment. Because previously, if you wanted to have, it didn't matter if it was an iBeacon or if it was any sort of connected device, a tracker, a dog tracker, a container tracker, anything like this, and you wanted it to go around the country and you wanted to know where it was, you needed a GPS which runs down the battery, and you needed to have probably a telephone SIM card connection, runs down the battery. These LoRa devices can be positioned within 25 meters. They can communicate information back to base through the cloud, and you can run them for 10 years on a battery. So for us, this is a huge opportunity to deploy this network, and to actually allow people in this laboratory to actually play with this new protocol. Because for me, that's the special ingredient on the top of it.
I love how you call this the laboratory. It's your whole city. That's so
yeah.
awesome. One thing you said about the beacons, and we were talking about the iBeacon is truly a BLE format beacon, right?
Yes.
Then you're saying you use LoRa. So you are actually providing, so every device that is in your network, right? It could be on a boat, or it could be on a bridge, or your life, right? Each of it is talking Bluetooth. So anybody with an app can connect to Bluetooth.
Yes.
It is also talking LoRa, and LoRa is what is taking it out to the cloud, right? By Bluetooth, it could hop to a device. From the device, it could go through whatever the device's connectivity is to the net.
Yes, that's correct. And so, yeah.
So, I mean, is there a cost to the LoRa? Is there a subscription? I mean, any packet going on to the internet, somebody is bearing the cost.
Yeah, there is a cost. It's being rolled out here by KPN as a professional network. They haven't set the cost, but we are expecting it to be something in the region of maybe €3, maybe that's $4 or $5 per year per device for your entire connectivity. And if you're working with high volumes, of course, that's going to come down. So if you compare that to having a GSM SIM card, and the fact that you don't have to have a very expensive hardware, including lots of additional modules which are going to do the communication. So it really does come down to things which you can really use for tracking. There's a great use case here from KPN themselves. They've got together with a beer manufacturer, and they've just put a LoRa chip on all of the beer containers. And so when they deliver them to bars and restaurants, the things continually pass back to the beer manufacturer the level of beer in the keg. And they're so cheap, these devices, that you can really do that. I mean, it's really, I think, in the same way that 3G communication boosted the iPhone and the Android devices, I think this LoRa network will really boost IoT, because you really can start thinking of making devices for a low cost, which you can actually connect all over the country and run them, like I say, 10 years on a battery. That's unheard of. But so what we've done with our beacons on the Mall is the majority of the beacons are what I described, just the normal beacons, which are just passing out information, just passing out a signal. Then we have, I think, 20 now LoRa-enabled beacons, and what they do is they have a LoRa module, and they have actually 3 beacons inside one device, and so you can actually change all the device number plans from a central location, because we thought, well, why put one iBeacon in there? Why not put 3 beacons in there, so that if 3 different people want to test 3 different scenarios, they can do it at the same time, and we can just change the whole number plan. And we also connected sensors to them, so we're bringing back environmental data, air quality data, also crowd movement data, also back into the cloud with these devices. So they're sort of completely multifunctional devices.
So awesome. I can't stop saying that.
And I think, as you were asking me again yesterday, something which is central to this laboratory is we're independent of any company and independent of cloud provider or protocol. So really what we're doing is we're trying to put all the data that we gather, we're publishing it in, well, we're connecting to about 30 different IoT cloud solutions. I think we got...
Oh, I love that. I love that list. I love that.
I sent you the list earlier on and you loved it, yeah?
Yeah, I was actually looking at it critically to see if there's something that I know that's missing from the cloud. The cloud IoT cloud platform. So you have Google in there, AWS in there, and you have a whole bunch of everything in there. Smart things, a whole bunch. Yeah.
Exactly. We love things like, you know, and there's things that you put it in one system and it goes into another. So for instance, we're using, if we put our environmental data, which is being collected every 30 seconds, if we put that into ThingSpeak, we know it automatically goes on to Thing4. And quite a lot of these platforms are connected, and we're trying to be completely even-handed. So like I say, you know, we put it into Google. We also put it into Amazon. They're two big commercial providers, but we equally put the same data into the community-based free and open source systems as well. And so, you know, that's something which we're very, very keen on.
That's very cool. So all the platforms that you're connecting are options. So walk me through, or tell me about your city mile example, the Beacon Mile.
Yeah,
maybe you walk me through. I want to just visualize. I'm not in Amsterdam. I'm super excited about this. I would like to visualize what it looks like at 7 o'clock. If you walk there and show me, I would love it. But I won't be so unfair.
You'll soon be able to see it, because we're actually going to we finalized today a video which is a walk along the Beacon Mile, so you can see it. We defined at the beginning of this project, you know, we wanted to think of different scenarios that people would want to test for Internet of Things. We came up with 3 different types of outdoor or locations that we would want. The first one is what we call a route, and that's what the Beacon Mile is. So it's a route of maybe up to a mile and a half, which has got interesting things along it. So people can test out from wayfinding to tourism applications to citizen crowd management solutions. Yep. We then also wanted to have a second type of installation, which is a sort of city-wide installation across lots of different transportation points, so bus stops, tram stops, train stations, etc. That's because that supports a second type of use case. And the third one is a sort of indoor location for people to do indoor wayfinding. But the Beacon Mile itself, it starts at Amsterdam Central Station, and it goes along a water. There's a sort of lots of water outside Amsterdam Central Station, and there's a great pathway that goes past shops and restaurants and a sort of key area which has got some really nice things on there, so people can just walk along in the evening, have a nice time, have a beer, have a meal. It goes past it goes past
never-ending beer.
But and then it has like a really great, huge, one of the biggest underground bicycle parks in Amsterdam on it. So a lot of people park their bicycles there. There's a big library, and then you go over a bridge and you come to the Amsterdam Science Museum. And this is built, it's very iconic. It's built like the back of an old 17th century trading ship, but out of sort of aluminium, green aluminium. You go around the back of that, and then there's lots of historic boats which are moored on the back of it, and it's a sort of a water museum. So you walk along that part, and then you come up and you end up walking past a thing called the Scheepvaart Museum, which is a ship museum. So it's all about the history of the Netherlands and its trading and its naval Navy and its trading ships. And finally, you end up where the Glimworm, my company's Glimworm, where our office is, and where we actually have a sort of visitor center for this lab, which is an old marine base, which is one of the oldest buildings in Amsterdam, where actually Van Gogh himself used to sleep sometimes. So you'll see the video tomorrow. We'll be able to put it online, and your viewers can actually or listeners can actually see the video of it. But it's a really great location, and it's very, very important at the moment in Europe. The European Union, like America, if you think of each country being a state, they have what they call a rotating presidency. So every 6 months, one country takes the presidency of Europe for half a year, and they rotate it. And starting in January, the Netherlands has it. And all of the meetings are going to be at the marine base where the Beacon Mile ends. So actually we're using it. We want to have the whole thing set up and running so that when January comes next year and 6 months of high-level international politician meetings are all happening in and around the terrain, that they walk along the mile and they see the best of local Dutch technology and IoT deployments. They can actually see it and actually get a sense of what's going on here. So it's kind of really like a national showcase from that perspective.
It's fantastic. So how many beacons? You have like 30 plus beacons along this route that you described to me.
We have 50 along that route with 20 LoRa connected beacons. We're putting tomorrow another 100 beacons out to a thing called Java Island, where there's a huge sailing festival in 2 weeks' time. And then after that, we put another 200, which are going to extend out into the city centre and out to the museum district. So if people have come to Amsterdam, they'll know the Rijksmuseum, some of the very famous, the Van Gogh Museum. They're going to stretch out all the way to that area. And then really we're connected to a lot of great app development communities. One of them is Amsterdam, which is one of the greatest worldwide app development communities.
Yeah, we know them.
Really, oh yeah, that's great. And you know, all these people will, you know, they really want to get their hands on a city that has got all of this technology, so they can actually play with it, make apps, they can show what they can do. So we're going to have competitions, and we're going to have incorporate the mile into other events that go on. There's an e-week, an e-commerce week that is held here in Amsterdam. They want to come and incorporate it somewhere in their week. So there's a lot of opportunity coming up.
So I have, I mean, we're almost getting to the end of the show. This is awesome stuff. I would like to follow up and see more. And, you know, I don't know, I wish I could put, you know, a device out there and access it through the cloud and make it do stuff. Or, you know, at least it's all sensor data. I can just get a time series of some kind of data and play with it too. Yeah. Right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, the possibilities are limitless. That's just amazing. But I have one basic fundamental question on Beacon, since you deployed this, right? Yeah. This weekend, actually, I went to Target, one of our retail stores here. Yeah. They have pioneered the whole IoT stuff. So what they have is they have a IoT showroom, like it's called Open House, Target Open House. Oh yeah. And locally in 50 different stores across the country, they put beacons everywhere. And so I went to one of their stores, and in their app, they're actually giving us some use case of, you know, making shopping easy. But when I point my phone with a beacon open source app, it actually shows me, you know, for every beacon, you can actually, you know, see the different signals, and it's, you know, and stuff like that. So as I go closer, some of them become, you know, stronger signal, some of them weaker signal. So how does one connect to your beacon, right? I mean, if I do have an iPhone, then you're expecting me to program using an iPhone, or is there
iPhone or Android? It's no problem,
right? And is there open technology? Is there anything? I mean, it's not just deploying the beacons, but you have to try it and get the right location. That's not. So any beacon thing that I've played with gives its own API, which is proprietary. And then it says, okay, now we'll tell you where the beacon is, right?
What do you offer that's open? Well, we've run 3 hackathons for iBeacons, and let me tell you, yes, they all come with the sort of SDK which they give you. The first thing a decent developer does, he throws away the SDK. He just goes down to the Apple or the Android code, and he just deploys it. Because actually, to use iBeacons in an app is about 20 lines of code. Everybody that is a decent app developer can just use that.
So we can actually go do the iPhone or the Android development and straight to your beacons and do whatever they.
Exactly. The only thing you have to know is you have to know the numbers of the beacons which we've deployed. Of course, that's completely open source, all open published.
That's the ID of the beacons to track it.
That's right. Yeah, they all as a group have one group ID, and so you can put that into your app and then say, okay, now I'm recognizing all the beacons which are part of the Living Lab, and then underneath that they have a few divisions into different types, but it's up to you. And I think, you know, you're talking about retail. Retail have, yes, it's very famous, all the retail uses of beacons. But I think if you look in museums have used them much more creatively and to stimulate different experiences. And I think in the city, it's going to be much more those creative solutions using beacons to help with things that you couldn't normally do, which are going to be the ones which are real winners. I think, you know, the whole giving you a 50% discount coupon, pretty simple stuff, and it's kind of been done. So, you know, I think the really decent developers, they're all looking into much richer experiences than a sort of, you know, coupon or shopping list.
No, I gave the coupon shopping example because that's where I've seen the beacons, and that's what we have here in retail, right?
Yeah. But for most people, it's the same.
Yeah, I've seen the beacons either in retail or like a, you know, go track my device type of thing, right? So
yeah.
the Tile and Pebble Bees and stuff like that, Gimbal and stuff like that. So I look forward to see the use cases that's going to come from the city. I've been hearing about, you know, lighting in the city or, you know, crowd control and stuff like that. We actually had a earlier guest at my show less than a month, maybe, you know, 2 months back, Ajit Javkar, who's a deep mining expert. And he's actually using, you know, deep learning to actually go to data mining and figure out how to improve the city, right? So he's working on that more. I think it's more about security and you know, he gave a use case of, you know, looking at videos from a crowded location, and, you know, when, you know, suppose a kid gets lost from the parent, and how to use you know, deep mining to go figure that out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Things like that. So I'm looking to see what kind of use cases would evolve, and I'm going to follow up with you to, you know, put my own device out there and see, you know, how I can play with this on the cloud. So this is awesome. Thank you for joining us today. I hope I will have you back on the show, and maybe, you know, we can, you know, show some real live examples of what's cooking up there as people build this up. And I look forward to having you back again.
Well, thank you very much indeed for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. That's it for today. And I will see you next week. And post some comments or ping me on Twitter and tell me what else you want to see, or your follow-up ideas on what kind of use cases can we do with this open living lab. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.